I became interested in documentary photography,
Wow.
which because it tells a real story. It's not fake. It's not perfect. And I think now we're so interested in, the perfect image, with Instagram and social media.
That is true. Good point.
Right. And so I liked the idea that documentary photography is real and it tells the story of somebody's family.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. I'm Tanya Corless, and today we have episodes from Algarve. Today we talk about Algarve lady who moved here for some reason, stay for another, and build their own businesses, maybe for the third reason. In their life, something changed, and they would like to share their stories. And today I'd like to introduce lovely lady photographer, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, to be honest, to have you over. I would love to hear your story. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Arizona.
Wow.
The desert, yes.
So, and how long are you in Portugal? And why Portugal?
Well, we just came back about 2 months ago. We lived here for a year, a couple of years ago. Went back to the States and now we're back again. And why Portugal? Safety and beautiful weather. And we love the beaches and the nature. So
wow.
It's a great place for our daughter to grow up.
I think actually everybody will pick the Portugal because of those reasons.
Yes.
Even myself. Anyway, you're doing photography.
Yes.
Why you decide to go in this field? Who inspired you?
Well, in 2005, I was a teacher. I was a secondary school art teacher. And I had a friend who was a photographer at the school. And he had started a business photographing weddings. And he invited me one day to come and photograph a wedding with him. And I went, and I thought it was the best thing ever. It was so much fun. And, not long after that, I left teaching and started my own photography business.
Fantastic. And who inspired you? Do you have any person who maybe advised you? Or maybe you watched the movie, or maybe you come across any stories and there you said, okay, that's maybe what I would like to try. Do you have any experience that you like? Or
No, not really anything like that. It was my friend who was the photography teacher. And then I just started photographing weddings, actually, was how I started. And then eventually it changed and I started photographing families. I got kind of tired of weddings. They were kind of all the same and I wanted something different. So I started photographing families, and I was doing lifestyle photography, which is everybody gets all dressed up and looks perfect. And you go out at sunset and everybody's matching outfits and everything. And after a while, I got a little tired of doing that type of photography. And I became interested in documentary photography, which because it tells a real story. It's not fake. It's not perfect. And I think now we're so interested in, the perfect image, with Instagram and social media.
That is true. Good point.
Right. And so I liked the idea that documentary photography is real and it tells the story of somebody's family. It's not just how you look. It's
about the story behind
it, how you feel, how you felt when you were a kid. Yeah, it's a human element. So it's pictures of if your kid is having a tantrum, or it's that too, right?
Yeah.
Because someday you're going to look back and think about, you're going to miss those moments. You don't think you're going to miss them.
You don't think at that moment. No, you think, okay, you'll remember that for the rest of my life. But eventually in a year 2-5, you will completely forget about this. Oh yeah, it was something happened. What was happened? I did ask myself at the time, remember this moment. Right. So documentaries will be equally in a real life style, right?
Yes.
To make sure it will be, because documentary sometimes, even myself will think, documentary is something about their documenting, more papers work involved. And also, if it's to talk about the photos, it would be more for clinical, more for some evidence of something.
Right.
But I would never think a documentary will be the same in real life photos.
Right.
So, but actually it's the same.
Right.
To make it clear.
Right. It's about documenting someone's life.
Your life. Okay.
Your life.
This is absolutely, yeah. But
Right.
it's not for special biography of somebody else.
Right.
Okay. It would be the same thing, but basically we talk about the normal people, human who has come to you, families, and said, okay, we would like to do ABC. Can you take a place?
Absolutely.
For us? Okay, and if you talk about a documentary, you work in with families or you also do for the businesses?
Families and businesses. So
what is the difference would be for you as a photographer?
So for a business, I would go in and I would photograph. It's all about telling a story. So either I'm telling a family story or I'm telling a business's story.
Yes.
And so a business, for example, an artist, I might photograph what they do, their artistic process from start to finish. And so I'm telling that story. So for example, I photographed a couple of wood artists here in Lule. And a couple of weeks ago, I photographed the two of them working together in their studio. And then tonight they are doing an installation and they're having an opening ceremony at where the artwork is going to be installed in the library in Faro.
And when you in this project, so have you to do any preparation to find, research some information about the company that you will be working along with? Or maybe you need to do other preparation?
Well, regardless of whether I'm photographing a family or a business, I have a conversation with that person ahead of time. So we usually meet either for a coffee or on a Zoom. And I ask them about what's most important. What about your story do you want to be told? So what about, if it's a family, what about your life is most important to you with your family? And I also photograph families on vacation.
Okay.
And so it would
vacation house, a very unusual vacation.
Yeah. So I would just go around with them wherever they go on their vacation. I go with them.
Wow.
And I photograph.
It's a luxury part of life, is it?
Yes. Yes. It is. But it's also, I think it's also a necessary part because
it's true.
You know, when you are on vacation with your family, think about who is the one documenting that. Usually the mom. And usually, right?
Of course, because we will be changing dresses 25 times in a day. Go on.
Right. And so she often is not in the photos. That's the way it works with my family anyway. I am always asking my husband, hey, remember, we're having a sweet moment right now. Take a picture. And then he's, maybe not as good of a photographer, definitely not as good. And so the mom ends up not being in the photos as much. Or then if she is in the photos, maybe they're not as good of quality. And it's nice that she can then put the camera down and relax and actually be with her family or whoever is usually the photographer in the family, that they can just relax and be fully present with their family and not worry about doing the photography.
And what about the posing? I know it's a big thing. I'm so horrible about the posing, to be honest. But anyway, when it needs to be with the family, I was like, I'm him here. Not always perfect. Would you recommend any particular position, or you just take it as it is?
Right. So that's the thing about documentary. There's no posing whatsoever, no directing. I don't even say, go stand over here. If this plant was in the way, I wouldn't move it. It's just really, it's everything. It's the family exactly as they are doing what they're doing. So, it might be if they're playing on the beach, I just run around and take photos of them on the beach. Or if they're, one thing that families often like to photograph is their bedtime routine, because that's a very sweet, important part of their day. And so it's going to be, the bedtime routine, the stories, the bedtime stories, the cuddles, the bath, the brushing teeth, all of those things. And I'm just there photographing it.
And people asking for it.
Yes.
It's very common or just unusual?
It's not as common as the family on the beach at sunset. It's growing in popularity, but I think more families are interested in having their stories told. And it's something that grows in value over time. So, right now you might think, yes, I always remember that. But think 20 years from now, you look back and you say, oh my gosh, look at these precious moments look at this beautiful bedtime routine and how we used to cuddle and read stories before bedtime, or how much fun we had playing on the beach together and my kids making sandcastles. And so you really get to see the family's true personalities come out in this way. as opposed to if somebody's posing you and telling you what to do and how to look at each other. That's not, I mean, there's a place for that. And I do a couple of posed photos. As part of a photo session, I might pose the family for a couple of photos, but the rest is just all about the real moments.
What about the outfits? Would you recommend wearing a particular outfit because it'll look better on the picture, or not?
I don't, because it's come as you are. So whatever you would be wearing normally, that's what you wear.
And people will request mostly the colorful pictures or black and white?
I can do either. Usually what I do is I look at the photo and I see what does the photo say that it needs to be. Some photos look better in black and white, some in color. Okay. But if a client has a specific thing that they like, if they like black and white better or they like color better, that's what I'll do.
Wow. And what is the biggest challenge for you to come across?
I know what it is. It's the overcoming of the perfection, of the need to be perfect. And needing to look a certain way and getting beyond that.
Okay.
And so because, like we were saying about the Instagram culture and
it's a different story.
Right. It's having people embrace their own vulnerability and their own authenticity and being willing to show up and be fully seen.
And another question, talk about the Instagram social media, I'll call this way, because it would be involved other platforms too.
Sure.
People who ask and take those pictures, they will post them on those platforms or
they do
as well. And tendency, like trendy now, it's more common that people prefer to post it more natural look either than these filters. From your experience,
I think they do both. I mean, some people might pick and choose what photos they're going to share on social media versus what is just for them and for their family. So, I make albums and
can you demonstrate?
This is an example of an album. Of an album. And so I make these.
Los Angeles, okay.
Oh, this was a family session in Los Angeles on vacation. And so this was the family just at dinner. And you can see how kids do. They're kind of pushing and pulling on mom and dad and normal things, playing at the restaurant.
You try to explain them why they have to pick you, not use their phone.
Not use their phone.
Yeah.
I actually
give benefits, give 3 main reasons why they have to use the photographer either than their own phone.
Sure.
Not one that they can't be together the same. We not count this one, another one.
Sure. No, it's a great question. I actually personally don't think the phone photos are that good.
Okay.
Is one
quality.
Well, sometimes I'll be out somewhere on my own vacation or whatever. I don't always bring my big camera with me because
would never know what can.
It's big and so I actually do often bring it with me, but not always. And so I will use my phone sometimes, and I can tell a very big difference between my phone cameras and
your professional
and my
one.
Professional camera. Well, hopefully it costs a whole lot more, right?
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between the two. That's first. Second, I'm a professional. I've trained. I have had lots of classes, lots of. I continue to take workshops. I just finished a 1-year-long workshop with a very well-known photographer and another documentary photographers from all over the world.
Fantastic.
It's an online thing that we meet, via Zoom.
Yes.
I just finished a 1-year-long class with that. And so, I'm studying a lot of different things. I'm studying composition. I know about lighting. I know it's actually quite complex what goes into each image and all of the artistic things that I'm putting together. So I have a background in art. So before I was a photographer, I was a visual artist. I did painting and printmaking and things like this because I wasn't also an art teacher. And so all of that goes behind and informs my work. So there's a whole artistry behind it. And with the composition, with the lighting, with the color, like I'm looking at all of these things with every photograph that I take. So the photos are going to be different than somebody who just is taking pictures with their phone, who doesn't have this kind of background, who hasn't studied photography.
You can see the vision.
Art.
Okay, that you will.
Right. The compositions make a big difference. These aren't just, they're not just snapshots, right? Each picture is is to me an artwork. And that's my goal also, to make every photograph an artwork.
So it would be it would be different quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a composition.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Quality, composition, the all of the artwork that goes into it. They can actually be in the photos themselves. They're not.
Okay.
They're part of the story.
Sorry. Then than just to create the story.
Then the one behind the camera. Everybody can be a part of the story.
And what is your plan for the future?
Just to continue doing photography, doing more vacation sessions, and
any big projects coming up?
No, just the same. Just the same. More of the same.
More of the same. Mm-hmm. Would you, for example, to do babies?
Oh yes, I photograph babies all the time, newborn babies, and
it's because I heard. Actually, I come across that experience when I had my last baby. Not everybody able to do that. Mm. They can't take the picture the way the baby has to sleep, or anyway.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about documentary photography. Oftentimes, I see newborn photo sessions, and they're taking the baby and they're, wrapping them in things.
Yeah, sleeping too much.
Putting them in a certain, like a little basket or something.
We can't manage mine, baby, to be honest, at the time.
Right.
To put it together like that. He was like...
right. And it's stressful for the baby. It's
for everybody. I was like, what's going on? Why my baby's moving around? He doesn't like it.
Right. I mean, baby wants to be with mom and dad.
Yeah.
And so that's the wonderful thing about documentary photography, is that I don't touch the baby.
Okay.
I'm not
even okay. You're only around and try to put it all together.
No, and I'm photographing what happens in the day of a newborn's life, which is, eating. So it's nursing or bottle feeding. It's sleeping. It's changing diapers. It's, all of those things that happen in the day
a normal day
with a baby. And I'm just photographing that. So it's a lot of images of mom holding baby, mom and dad holding baby and taking care of the baby.
Yeah.
And all of the things that are involved in that process. So I have a lot of newborn pictures on my Instagram and my website and things too.
Do you do any pregnancy photo shoot?
I do pregnancy also, yes. And I can do documentary style pregnancy, but that's going to look more like the couple, spending time together. Mm-hmm. It might be making dinner together. It might be, maybe they're going on a walk on the beach together, something like that. I can do a couple of posed pregnancy pictures too, because those are nice for that type of session.
Do you provide any outfit?
No.
Not at all. Not for pregnant women, not for the babies, not for...
No, because it's about your real life. And so it's going to be your...
But if somebody, for example, can fit in after pregnancy, woman can fit in a dress she would love to, and she doesn't want to spend money, and maybe would be nice if photographer... I just talk about my own experience.
Sure.
So when I had, for example, my pregnancy photo shoot and after, so my photographer, she's rented out dresses that she has in the collection for those kind of reasons, and would be different sizes. Most of them so big because she understood this need to fit in there. But I remember it was saved my life from that point. I didn't have anything at the time to fit in and look gorgeous. And she didn't be worried. I have a few for you. It's my experience. I'm not saying the good, right? Sure. Somebody wouldn't be happy to do this. I was happy because it was working for me.
Sure.
For example, provide support for your customers. And the customer's so nervous. How you will approach them, how you try to keep them down and explain that's what you need to do. How it's happened. Give example of your work steps.
Well, so what we do first is we have either a Zoom meeting or we meet in person for coffee, and we just get to know each other a little bit. I ask them a lot about their family. Again, what's important to them about their family, what time of the day is most important, what activities do they do together that's meaningful to them. And then on the day of the actual session, so there's a little bit of an icebreaker there. I get to know them a little bit. They tell me about their kids. And then on the day of the session, when I come, we spend just the first few minutes, just chatting, just getting to know each other, just nothing. I'm not going to come in and start photographing right away. I get down on eye level with the kids. I talk to them. And so that's how it goes. And so then people go just about their day. We plan the activities that they're going to do first. Yeah. And so based upon what they've told me, based on what they've told me about what is the most important part of their day, those are the activities. And by activities, I mean just, okay, we're going to make breakfast.
Okay.
Or we're going to bedtime routine, or we're going to take a walk. We're going to wash the dog. So those are activities. They're everyday things that you do.
Yes,
but
sure.
It's just so that you're not sitting there, watching TV or something.
I got you. Yes, yeah. Just show part of the life what they will be day to day doing,
Right.
more likely.
So something that they would be doing in their normal part of life, but we talk about what is the most important activity for that.
What type of equipment?
So I use a mirrorless camera. I use a Sony mirrorless camera, and I shoot with a 24 millimeter lens, prime lens, and also a 35 millimeter prime lens. And the reason I use a mirrorless camera is that it works really well in low lighting situations.
Yeah.
And so this is another reason why.
No.
Why instead of an iPhone?
We need to explain why.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So instead of an iPhone that does not do so well in low light, my camera is very good at low light. I don't need to use a flash. I don't use a flash actually.
At all?
No, I don't, because my camera is very great in low light.
Perfectly.
Okay. And so I just use whatever natural light is available. And
do you use any artificial light to collect video today? No,
artificial light. Just whatever.
Just basically your best camera that you can get for this purpose.
Right. And it works really well because it actually is again about telling the real story and the real lighting situation that's there. You can get beautiful photos in low light.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you very much to listen our stories. Thank you very much to watching my guest. And I hope you'll stay with us to get more information out. I'm Tanya Corless. Goodbye.